Hundreds of rescuers in Vietnam attempt to free a 10-year-old boy who fell into a 35-meter deep hole at a construction site 2 days ago.
According to media reports, rescuers have tried drilling and softening the surrounding soil to reach the boy. More details on this later in the news. Good evening. I'm CJ Hero.
And I am Nina Richie Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Now for the headlines.
Aerial operations may resume after 72 hours, according to Philippine airport authorities. Senate vows probe on New Year's airport power outage. Philippine National Police says New Year's revelry was generally peaceful. Philippines imposes more restrictions on travelers from China. And thousands flock to Philippine arenas New Year countdown.
Airport authorities expect airline operations to normalize after 72 hours. The air traffic system is called the Communications, Navigation and Surveillance Systems of the Air Traffic Management, or CNS, ATM, and is operated by the Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines, or CAAP. The air traffic system broke down Sunday due to an alleged internal power outage. The New Year's airspace outage at Ninoy Aquino International Airport, or NAIA, resulted into a cancellation of 414 flights, affecting more than 60,000 passengers. In an interview with Net25 Saganang Mamamayan, Manila International Airport Authority, or MIAA General Manager Cesar Chiong apologized to thousands of passengers affected by the incident. Chiong said they are closely coordinating with the CAAP, the Department of Transportation, and the airline companies. He explained that the flight cancellations were to ensure the safety of passengers.
2010? Oo, tagal. Oo. Tapos, na-commission po siya 2018. So, nagamit po nila yung buong sistema ng 2018. So, pero tumatakbo na rin ho yung oras doon. Kaya, nag-present na ho sila nung parang another upgraded system. Kasi alam mo, yung mga electronic system na ho kasi na to, medyo short po life cycle niyan eh. Mga 10 to 12 years po yun, no?
Chiong called on airline operators to upgrade their flights to accommodate more passengers.
The Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines, or CAAP, is set to investigate the airspace outage that happened in NAIA on the 1st of this month. That affected more than 400 flights and stranded more than 60,000 passengers. For today, 75 flights were canceled. Moira Encina has the details.
75 flights were canceled today at Ninoy Aquino International Airport, or NAIA, due to the power outage and technical glitch at the airport's air navigation system. In an advisory, the Manila International Airport Authority, or MIAA, said 7 international flights and 68 domestic flights were canceled this Monday. The cancellation happened despite CAAP resuming normal operations of its air traffic management center. CAAP has tasked the Aerodrome and Air Navigation Safety Oversight Office to investigate the incident.
Magkakaroon ng investigasyon, Malalaman po natin kung sino yung mga member ng investigation team na mag-investigate dyan sa nasabing insidente.
MIA said 400 flights and 64,000 passengers at NAIA were affected by the airport glitch. MIA said they didn't immediately announce the flight cancellations in hope the system would be fixed.
We made the judgment call yesterday na to wait for a while, baka magawa. Pero nung towards lunchtime, hindi na po talaga nagawa. We already made the call na talagang we have to cancel it already para hindi na ma-perwisyo yung mga pasahero natin. Or at least alam na nila kung ano mangyayari.
Meanwhile, part of the RISM has directed its airport personnel to assist affected passengers. The DOT assured it is closely coordinating with responsible agency stakeholders and LGUs to ensure the security of all tourists affected by the delay, cancellation, and diversion of flights. Records from DOT showed that since February 2022 up to December 31, 2022, tourist arrivals in the country have reached 2.65 million. Majority of the guest arrivals are from the United States with more than 500,000. The tourism department is confident that it will reach its target of 4.8 million international visitors for 2023. Moira Insina for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The Philippine National Police, or PNP, said the New Year's Eve revelry was generally peaceful. But despite the government's campaign, the use of firecrackers was still not avoided. Vic Sumintak reports.
The Philippine National Police has arrested 42 individuals for the use of illegal firecrackers in the New Year's Eve revelry. Authorities confiscated illegal firecrackers worth 2.5 million pesos. PNP Public Information Office Chief Police Colonel Rodrigo Maranan said the New Year's Eve celebration was generally peaceful. Maranan said the PNP lagged 2 victims of stray bullet injuries, while 3 cases of indiscriminate firing were reported in Iloilo, Quezon City, and Manila. The suspects were arrested and charges were filed against them.
Pagdiwang po at nasalubong po ito ng ating mga kababayan ng mas ligtas at payapa. Sa katunayan po, tayo ay nakapagtala lamang ng 2 stray bullet incidents. At ang mga biktima po nito ay nagtamo ng minor injuries at nakalabas na po sa ospital. Samantala, sa indiscriminate firing po, tayo nakapagtala ng 3 insidente. Ang isa ay sa Iloilo, ang isa ay sa Quezon City, at ang isa ay sa Manila. At lahat po ng mga nagpaputok na ito ay nahuli, na aresto at napailan po ng demanda.
Although the number of illegal firecracker use increased, Maranan said the amount of confiscated illegal firecrackers was lowered in 2023. The PNP leaderships believe that the campaign of the Department of Health and local government units against illegal firecrackers was a big help in the decrease of firecracker injuries reported during the New Year's Eve celebration. Vic Sumintak for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
The country's fireworks-related injuries have reached 211 after an additional 74 cases were recorded on January 1st as of 6 o'clock in the morning today. Randy Bernardino has the story.
The Department of Health has logged an additional 74 firecracker-related injuries from January 1 until 6 o'clock in the morning today. This brings the total number of firecracker-related injuries to 211 from December 21, 2022 up to January 2, 2023. The number is higher than the firecracker-related injuries recorded from last year's New Year celebration. Almost half of the injuries recorded are from the National Capital Region. 21% of the injuries were caused by Quitis, followed by Boga, 5-Star, and Fountain. Most of the victims were male, with ages ranging from 11 months up to 80 years old. The victims sustained eye injuries, blasts, and burn injuries with amputations. Now that the New Year's celebration is over, the Department of Health continues to remind the public to avoid picking up unexploded firecrackers on the road. Randy Bernardino from Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The Department of Health, or DOH, will impose additional restrictions for inbound travelers from China. A meticulous process will be imposed to assess vaccination status, exposure, and symptoms, particularly for incoming vessels with a history of travel from China. The DOH added that this would be accompanied by strict implementation of quarantine and isolation protocols as warranted. The DOH said it is closely monitoring the situation with the Interagency Task Force
force against COVID-19. Health Officer in charge Maria Rosario Vergeire dismissed the public's fear that China's situation might happen in the Philippines.
We cannot compare yung ating populasyon with that of China's population. Alam po natin kung gaano kadami ang populasyon ng China at kung gaano lang kadami ang populasyon ng Pilipinas. Pangalawa, meron po tayong iba't ibang strategiya na pinapatupad. Ang China po, nung sila po ay nagpatupad, they had the zero COVID policy at biglaan nilang nilift ang kanilang polisiya at biglaan namang tumaas ang kaso sa kanila.
The DOH reminded the public to get vaccinated and boosted for more protection against COVID-19.
The 7-day COVID-19 positivity rate in the National Capital Region decreased on December 31st. Octa Research Fellow Dr. Guido David said the positivity rate in Metro Manila is down to 9.1% from 11.6% last December 24. David added that other provinces also logged a lower COVID-19 positivity rate, including Albay, Batanes, Bulacan, Cagayan, Camarines Sur, Cavite, Ilocos Norte, Ilocos Sur, Kalinga, La Union, Laguna, Mountain Province, Nueva Ecija, Pampanga, Pangasinan, Quezon, Rizal, Tarlac, and Zambales. The lowest positivity rate was observed in Bulacan with 4.4% from 9.2% last December 24. However, provinces like Bataan, Benguet, and Isabela showed a slight increase in the positivity rate in the last week of 2022. Isabela had the highest positivity rate with 37.6%. The Senate will push for a legislative inquiry on the supposed power outage that took the country's airspace offline and stranded thousands of passengers. Mian Corvera reports.
Lawmakers considered the 6-hour technical issue in the air navigation facilities of Ninoy Aquino International Airport as a threat to national security. The glitches resulted in the cancellation of all outbound and inbound flights to the country. Senator J.V. Ejercito sees two reasons: sabotage or neglect. Ejercito said the airspace outage is dangerous for passengers and a threat to the country's security. The lawmaker said the government should seriously consider taking back vital utilities such as the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines, especially if the real cause is a power outage. Senator Grace Poe agrees that the incident is a national security concern and someone should be held accountable. Poe said it's worrisome since thousands of passengers depend on the airport operation. Senator Jinggoy Estrada warns the incident is a double black eye that could hit the country. The outage affects the tourism industry and the country's image. Estrada says it is shameful that the incident happened on the first day of the year, affecting thousands of inbound and outbound passengers. The lawmaker says the country's tourism industry is just recovering. Senator Nancy Binay, chairman of the Senate Committee on Tourism, is concerned that the incident could affect the government's campaign to woo foreign tourist arrivals in the country. She says the issue should be resolved immediately since the country is set to host the international events like the FIBA World Cup. Binay adds that it is high time to conduct a full audit of all navigational and communications equipment installed in all the country's airports. The Senate is set to conduct separate investigation into the incident. Poe, chairman of the Senate Committee on Public Services, says the Senate would invoke its oversight power to identify who is the responsible and accountable and what measures will be done to avoid a repeat of the incident. The Senate is asking authorities to submit a report on the technical glitch and power outage. The Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines must report on their navigational equipment and the alleged power outage after Meralco issued a statement stating there was enough power supply. Poe said for now, they would let CAAP and NAIA resolve the problem and assume normal flight operations before conducting the investigation. Mayan Corvera for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Coming up, 9 people dead at Uganda mall stampede. Vietnam rescuers battle to save boy from 35-meter hole. And Israel targets Damascus airport with missile strike. These and more when Agila International returns.
This portion is brought to you by 318 Automart, Arlex Trading and Construction Supplies.
The news continues here on Agila International. Several gunmen attacked a prison Sunday in the northern Mexican city of Ciudad Juarez. The Chihuahua State Prosecutor's Office says 14 people are dead and 24 inmates escaped. The office says an unknown number of gunmen aboard armored vehicles took part in the attack. 10 prison guards and security agents died in the incident. Before the attack, the municipal office was fired at, setting off a car chase, the seizure of a vehicle, and the arrest of 4 men. 5 hours later, security forces managed to control the situation, but fighting between inmates took place. Then, assailants in a Hummer fired on another group of security agents outside the prison. Local media says relatives of some prisoners were waiting outside the compound for a New Year's visit. Rioting inmates set fire to various objects and clashed with prison guards. A recent report says 13 people were left injured as a result of the attack.
A New Year's Eve celebration in Uganda turned to tragedy. Revelers watching a fireworks display fell victim to a mall stampede in the country's capital, Kampala. At least 9 people are reported dead. The chaos began when the crowd in the mall was encouraged to watch the light show on a platform outside. As they returned indoors after the display, there was a lot of pushing and shoving. Some people fell and were trampled, with victims including 3 children. 4 people were pronounced dead at the scene. 5 others died on their way to hospitals. Kampala's police chief blames negligence for the tragedy. He says investigators are still trying to determine how many people were injured.
At least 2 migrants died and more than 200 have been rescued after their boat sank off the northern coast of Lebanon. Dozens of relatives gather at the port of Tripoli, awaiting the return of those rescued. They scuffle with soldiers at the port's entrance. The migrants had been trying to flee the impoverished country. They were largely refugees from Syria. Among the men, women, and children aboard the vessel, about 50 were Lebanese. They were on their way to Europe when their boat ran into trouble. 3 naval ships, accompanied by a UN peacekeeping vessel, brought 232 survivors to Tripoli. Many were trying to flee Lebanon, which faces its worst economic crisis in modern history. The country is home to more than 1 million refugees from Syria's civil war. Many Lebanese citizens are also leaving the country because of the economic hardships.
Hundreds of rescuers in Vietnam battled Monday to free a 10-year-old boy. He fell into a 35-meter deep hole at a construction site 2 days ago. Rescuers said the boy, named Tai Lee Hao Nam, fell into the shaft of a hollow concrete pillar just 25 centimeters wide. The boy was apparently looking for scrap metal when he sunk in part of a new bridge in southern Dong Thap province. Rescuers do not have an update yet on the boy's condition. Media reports say rescuers have tried drilling and softening the surrounding soil to try to pull the pillar up to save Nam. On Monday, Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh asked federal-level rescuers to join efforts by local authorities to save the boy.
Authorities say 4 people have died after a mid-air collision between 2 helicopters on Australia's Gold Coast. The incident took place around 2 o'clock in the afternoon local time. Queensland's ambulance service confirms 9 other passengers aboard the 2 aircraft were treated for injuries. But 3 passengers, a woman and 2 young boys, have been rushed to the hospital due to critical conditions. Initial reports say 1 helicopter appeared to be taking off as the other one was landing. The Australian Transport Safety Bureau has said it will investigate the collision.
Israel has carried out a missile strike on the Damascus International Airport, killing 4 people. 2 of the dead are Syrian soldiers. State news agency says the attack occurred around 2 in the morning, local time Monday. The airport is now out of service. A military source says Israel launched a barrage of missiles targeting the airport and surrounding areas. The missiles also hit the positions of Hezbollah and pro-Iranian groups, including a weapons warehouse. Since the civil war broke out in Syria in 2011, Israel has carried out hundreds of airstrikes against its neighbor.
Local authorities say Kyiv forces hit Donetsk and Lugansk cities overnight. Officials claim Ukraine bombarded residential areas using NATO-caliber artillery and Western-supplied multiple rocket launchers. The city mayor also confirms 3 people, including a 3-month-old boy, are injured due to Kyiv's overnight onslaught. Reports say more than 15 civilians are injured in Makivka.
There's an ease in Bolivia after a court sentenced a key opposition leader to 4 months in pretrial detention last week. Former presidential candidate Luis Fernando Camacho was hauled off Friday to a maximum security prison. His supporters began a violent demonstration in Santa Cruz, the country's largest city. Clashes with police continued throughout the night. Protesters threw rocks and firecrackers at a police building, and they burned tires on the streets of downtown Santa Cruz. Riot police fired tear gas to disperse the unruly crowd. By morning, burnt vehicles littered the streets. At least 4 people were arrested. Camacho is accused of terrorism for his part in violent political protests in 2019.
Brazil's new president has taken office for a 3rd term. Dressed in a blue suit and tie, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva was sworn in Sunday before Congress. Outside the presidential palace, thousands of supporters gathered, continuing their New Year's celebrations. The 77-year-old led Brazil from 2003 to 2010. His election in October capped a stunning political comeback. Lula returns to the presidential palace less than 5 years after being jailed on corruption charges, which have since been quashed.
After 7 years, Venezuela and Colombia completely reopened their shared border. The final crossing to be reopened was the Tienditas Bridge. It had been blocked by containers placed by the Venezuelan army. The first traffic flowed on Sunday. For many residents, it is a welcome move that reunites families. They have relatives on both sides of the border. The 2 countries share a 2,200-kilometer border that is riddled with armed groups fighting over the drug trade and smuggling. The border was partially closed in 2014. But when the 2 countries broke off diplomatic ties in 2019, all traffic between them was halted. Residents hope that trade will resume to its previous level of more than $7 billion back in 2008.
Next on Mata ng Agila International. Electrical fault blamed for fire at Cambodian casino. For the first time since 2020, Japan's emperor delivers public New Year's greeting. And Netflix series turns Brits against Prince Harry. Mata ng Agila International will be right back after a short while. Don't go away.
Good news! Balik kusina na naman ang inyong paboritong cooking show.
Katakam-takam na recipes, masarap na kwentuhan, at walang sawang tawanan. Kasama ng ating espesyal na celebrity guests, natyak na magdadala ng kasiyahan, kasama ang aking pinsan na si Sandy Daza.
Kain na! Dito lamang sa Lutong Daza sa Net25.
Isang masayang bagong taon sa Counterpoint ngayong Miyerkules. Walk on with the hope in your heart and you'll never walk on. Kasama ni Atty. Sal Panelo, si Prince of Popera, Jonathan Badon. Sa Counterpoint, tuwing Miyerkules alas 10:30 ng gabi, dito sa Net25.
Sabay-sabay sa pagbangon, sama-sama sa pag-asa, pagkat ikaw at ako'y dugong Pilipino.
This portion is brought to you by Source Alliance.
Story. Officials are now blaming an electrical fault for a deadly fire in a Cambodian casino that claimed 26 lives. They say a short circuit sparked the blaze. Cambodian authorities say many of the bodies were found in stairways or trapped in rooms after rescuers failed to reach them in time. The fire rampaged through the multi-story casino hotel complex Wednesday night. Rescuers told those trapped inside to jump from ledges and window sills in an effort to save themselves. More than 50 people were taken to hospitals. 13 of them were listed in critical condition in the latest report. Cambodian authorities are deciding whether to bring charges against the hotel owners.
Japan's Emperor Naruhito made his first public New Year's greeting since 2020. He resumes an annual tradition with caution as the nation and royal family gradually return to normalcy. Naruhito and Empress Masako were scheduled to make 6 brief appearances throughout the day at the palace's glass-covered balcony. The couple was joined by their daughter Aiko and Naruhito's parents, former Emperor Akihito and former Empress Michiko, among other relatives. Only 1,500 chosen well-wishers were allowed to enter the vast palace in the Japanese capital in an effort to prevent the spread of the coronavirus. Prior to the pandemic, almost 70,000 would come and see Naruhito's New Year's address. In the last few years, the addresses were canceled to prevent the spread of infections. As the royal couple stood before the crowd at the start of the year, they wished for the happiness of people in their country and the world.
The annual Tournament of Roses parade happens a day later this year. There is a long-standing tradition of not holding the parade on a Sunday. Despite the extra time, one of the hurdles the builders face is the rising cost of materials, supplies, and flowers. In Pasadena, California, Eva Basayahe spoke with the parade crew who found creative ways to cut costs and still uphold the vision of the annual presentation. Take a look.
From design to the placement of the final flower, most Tournament of Roses parade floats are a year-long endeavor. But with inflation affecting every sector, builders have had to sprinkle in a bit of ingenuity to finish their projects.
Inflation kind of affects everything. The Rose Parade is no different. Some of the ways that I saw inflation impact our float this year is less product than we have had in years past. We were trying to be really sparse, not waste as much as we possibly could. Sometimes even like whatever fell off the float, we would sweep up and reuse again, as long as it was clean enough to put back on there. I know that some of the flowers are more expensive than they've been in the past, and so if you look at this deck behind me, we have a lot of green space, whereas ordinarily in on other floats, we would have completely covered that green space. It kind of worked to our advantage on this particular float because it is a safari theme. We didn't have to fill in quite everything with roses, but those are just some of the ways that we were kind of trying to scale back a little bit this year.
We're nonprofit, so we're entirely donation driven and we're kind of pool funded, but we still have to buy our own materials. So obviously, steel stock, a lot of components in here, mechanical components going up in price. Flowers were they were difficult to find coming out of COVID, and they're still really difficult to find. So we're having to make a lot of purchases, and the purchase costs are getting more and more expensive. It's getting more expensive. So we have to be a little more careful of, do we need this item? Do we need this part? Do we need this steel? Are we going to use this? Something that's nice is that even if you have more than you need for this year, we'll just use it next year. It does help sometimes that we're constantly doing this and we can kind of stock up a little bit so that any uncertainty, if we kind of get it by in a dip, we're set for a year or two.
Because the Rose Parade never takes place on a Sunday, builders had an extra day to finish their floats. But while there was more time, more funding would also have been a big help in the face of rising costs. Eva Pasalyaje, Pasadena, California. Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The Boulder Main Public Library in Colorado has been temporarily closed. Local officials say there was heavy methamphetamine contamination in the bathrooms. The library first closed on December 19 last year after tests revealed meth was on the surfaces and in air ducts of the public bathrooms. Further tests showed the drug was also found in some seating areas. City authorities said these areas would require professional cleanup. The furniture in the seating areas may be replaced with something that can be cleaned regularly. The library is expected to reopen on January 4, but they added that it is not yet clear if and when public restrooms will be brought back.
Croatia adopts the euro currency and enters Europe's passport-free Schengen zone on Sunday. Zagreb, Croatia's capital, said goodbye to its kuna currency and became the 20th member of the Eurozone. Experts say Zagreb's adoption of the euro will help protect its economy at a time when inflation has been soaring globally. Croatia also becomes the 27th nation in the passport-free Schengen zone. The Schengen area comprises of European countries that have officially abolished all passports and all other types of border control at their mutual borders. The agreement enables more than 400 million people to move freely around its member nations. But Croatians have mixed feelings about the changes. While many welcome the end of border controls, some worry about the currency switch. Opposition members claim the switch to euro only benefits large countries such as Germany and France. Other Croatian officials have defended the decisions to join the Eurozone and Schengen. Prime Minister Andrej Plenković defended the decisions, saying they were two strategic goals of a deeper EU integration.
Today, Croatia joins the Schengen area and the Eurozone, two immense achievements for the youngest member state of the European Union, and both reached on the very same day. So indeed, this is a day for the history books.
Canada in 2023 is closing its doors to foreign investors who want to purchase homes. A new law took effect on January 1st, which bans foreign buyers from acquiring residential property investments for 2 years. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau proposed the temporary 2-year measure when soaring prices put home ownership beyond the reach of Canadians. Trudeau says foreigners buying homes led to a real problem of underused or vacant housing and skyrocketing prices. He asserts homes are for people, not investors. Local reports clarify that the ban will not apply to recreational properties such as summer cottages. The law also provides exemptions for home purchases by immigrants and permanent residents of Canada who are not citizens.
A YouGov and Times poll reports 44% of the British public thinks Prince Harry should lose his royal title. The results came in after Netflix aired Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's 6-part documentary series. 32% of respondents believe Harry should remain the Duke of Sussex. 51% say security should not be provided to the couple when they visit UK. 23% say the 6-part documentary series made them think worse of the couple, while only 7% say say it raised their opinion of the royal pair. 33% of respondents say the series made no difference, as they had a negative opinion of Harry and Meghan to begin with. 13% had a positive view of the couple before the series' release. Royal insiders claim Harry and Meghan's new allegations of mistreatment further deepen the rift between them and the palace. Sources say they are not surprised that the Netflix series made people more sympathetic to Harry's brother, Prince William, and Princess Kate of Wales.
Before dangerous asteroids can be deflected, there is a need to hunt them first. In a recent announcement, NASA says they are building a telescope to hunt asteroids that pose a threat to Earth. In Atlanta, Georgia, we have Philip Toledo reporting.
Television shows and movies often portray crises of cataclysmic proportions as asteroids hurtle towards our planet. However, the threat is real, and NASA, for one, is taking steps to hunt down and destroy near-Earth objects. According to NASA, their Near-Earth Object Surveyor, or NEO surveyor, is now moving into a final design and fabrication phase. The NEO surveyor will be a space telescope with the purpose of searching for asteroids and comets that stray into our planet's orbital neighborhood. This will help NASA's Planetary Defense Coordination Office. It is the group responsible for discovering and characterizing at least 90% of the near-Earth objects more than 140 meters or 460 feet across that come within 30 million miles of our planet's orbit. These are objects that could cause significant damage if they impact Earth. Lindley Johnson, NASA's Planetary Defense Officer, says the NEO surveyor represents the next generation for NASA's ability to quickly detect, track, and characterize potentially hazardous near-Earth objects, and that it will be the ultimate high ground in what will enable NASA's planetary defense strategy. The telescope will use infrared technology to detect some of the most challenging to find orbital objects. These include dark asteroids that do not reflect much light, and those that trail the Earth in the direction of the Sun, called Earth Trojans. Now, are you expecting to see some blockbuster attempts to defend our planet? Well, NASA is actually developing technologies to deflect hazardous asteroids. But, according to the Mission Survey Director, Amy Mainzer, before deflection, there is the need to find them. She says the NEO surveyor will be a game changer in that effort. We're still a ways out, though, from seeing NEO surveyor in action. As long as all goes according to plan, the launch date will be June of 2028. Philip Toledo, Atlanta, Georgia. Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Later in the news, Hershey's sued over heavy metals in dark chocolate. Hawkeye star Jeremy Renner in hospital after weather-related accident. And thousands attend Philippine Arena New Year's countdown. Mata ng Agila International will be back after this short break.
Alam namin ang iyong pagsisikap. Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka na mangamba. Sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. Mailalabas natin ang aking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa New Era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
The news continues here on Mata ng Agila International. Despite sanctions of the West on Moscow, trade between Russia and Japan saw an annual increase of 10% in the first 11 months of 2022. In monetary terms, bilateral trade amounted to 2.36 trillion yen, or $18 billion. Analysts say the increase was mainly attributed to volatility in the global energy market. Oil prices surged due to the reopening of economies, followed by anti-Russia sanctions and Moscow's retaliatory measures. Russia remains one of the major suppliers of liquefied natural gas to Japan. Moscow accounts for about 9% of Japanese imports of fuel. It also services 3% of electricity generation in Japan.
Hershey's has been sued in the U.S. over claims the company is selling dark chocolate bars containing harmful levels of metal. The lawsuit brought by Christopher Lazzazzaro alleges Hershey's misled consumers by failing to disclose the quantities of lead and cadmium in its 3 dark chocolate products. Lazzazzaro claims he would not have purchased the products if he had been aware. He also claims that reasonable consumers would be turned off by such levels because they pose a serious health risk. He insists that Hershey's must be truthful about their ingredients since consumers rely on them. Lazzazzaro's lawsuit seeks at least $5 million of damages, including at least $500 per transaction under New York law. Hershey's did not immediately respond to a request for comment.
According to the Wall Street Journal, or WSJ, Elon Musk's Tesla experienced its worst annual stock decline in 2022. WSJ says Tesla stocks fell 65% from the start of the year, or over $700 billion in market value. Tesla stock reached an all-time peak in November 2021, but shares have declined by over 70%. Analysts claim the fall in the value of Tesla shares could be explained by investors' fears that Musk would pay more attention to Twitter. Other sources say the car maker's stock drop could be due to fierce competition and Tesla's production issues at its factories.
Brazilians bid final farewell this week to football giant Pelé, starting Monday with a 24-hour public wake at the stadium of his longtime team, Santos. The oceanside home of the team, nicknamed Peixe, is expecting an influx of fans looking to honor the king of football, who died aged 82 on Thursday after a long battle with cancer. At 10 in the morning, stadium doors opened and the remains of the only player who won 3 World Cups is displayed at center field. A procession will follow through the streets of Santos and will pass the house of Pelé's mother, 100-year-old Celeste Arantes, who is unaware that her world-famous son has died. The procession will end at a cemetery in Santos, where Pelé will be interred in a special mausoleum.
Aston Villa successfully opened 2023 with a Premier League victory over Tottenham Hotspur on New Year's Day. From the UK, here's our correspondent, Keith Dimabuyu.
Antonio Conte admitted Tottenham faced a fight to finish in the Premier League's top 4 after a costly mistake from Hugo Lloris condemned the North Londoners to a damaging 2-0 defeat against Aston Villa on Sunday. Lloris was left on the bench for Tottenham's draw against Brentford on December 26th as he rested after France's agonizing final loss in Qatar. Brazilian midfielder Luiz added Villa's second goal in the closing stages, leaving Conte's side to endure jeers from frustrated fans at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Tottenham had hoped the first Premier League match of 2023 would serve to kickstart their bid to qualify for next season's Champions League via a top 4 finish. Instead, they suffered a New Year's Day hangover as mid-table Villa punished a lethargic display. Fifth-place Tottenham have failed to win both of their matches since the World Cup break, a dip in form which has allowed fourth-place Manchester United to climb 2 points above them. Villa manager Emery, dismissed by Arsenal in 2019, has now won 3 of his 4 Premier League matches since replacing the sacked Steven Gerrard in November. From the United Kingdom, I am Keith Dimabuyu for Matanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
7-time Grand Slam winner Venus Williams triumphs against a player less than half her age on Monday in the first round of the Auckland Classic. Playing her first match in 4 months, Williams unearthed her trademark power to notch the first win in more than a year. Fellow American Katie Volinets led the first set, but the play was suspended due to heavy rain. The weather interruption worked in Williams' favor. She won against Volinets. Williams is using this week to prepare for her 25th tilt at the Australian Open.
Hawkeye star Jeremy Renner is in a critical but stable condition after a weather-related accident. Renner's spokesperson says the Marvel actor was airlifted to a hospital Sunday after the accident, which happened while he was plowing snow. The spokesperson adds Renner is with his family and is receiving excellent care.
The arrival of a huge walrus in the British port town of Scarborough on the North Sea ruined the local authorities' New Year's celebration plans. The huge mammal, nicknamed Thor, was seen resting in the harbor area on Friday. He was previously spotted at the beaches of Hampshire and the Netherlands and in France. On Saturday, the Borough Council decided to cancel the New Year's Eve fireworks display on the advice of the British Divers Marine Life Rescue. The council's head, Steve Siddons, explained there are concerns that the fireworks display could cause distress to the mammal. Siddons said he and the others were disappointed that the community celebrated without fireworks. But he stressed that the well-being of Thor, the walrus, comes first. The British Divers Marine Life Rescue praised the council's decision. They said Thor needs time to rest and recuperate before it continues its journey.
In the U.S. city of Boston, some people began the new year with a dip in the icy waters of the Atlantic Ocean. The sun was up for only a couple of hours when the brave participants took part in the annual Elstree Brownie New Year's polar bear plunge. The tradition began more than a century ago in 1904. The temperature in Boston was about 11 degrees Celsius. Some participants say it was a refreshing way to welcome the new year. Similar events were held around the world, including Canada, France, Italy, and Portugal.
Thousands attended the Philippine Arena New Year's countdown. Here is Nadine Aguilar for her special report.
Thousands of people attended the colorful and successful Let's Net Together 2023, the New Year countdown at the Philippine Arena with the Net 25 stars. First to groove on the dance floor were Emma Tiglao, Billy Hankinson, and Isabel de los Reyes, while Diana Meneses had a solo performance. Kada Umaga hosts Tony Petgaba and Wedge Kudiamat were also present. First time to host Net 25's New Year countdown were Berwin Mailey, Love Anyaver, Ricky Matay, and Ara Mina. Pinoy rapper Glock 9 performed with hype that rumbled the arena. King of R&B JR serenaded the crowd with a smooth performance. The audience sang along with Ace Mansuelo with his song Muli. Alexa Muro groove on the dance floor. The event was made even more special by the trio Tito, Vic, and Joey as they greeted their supporters before the end of 2022. OPM bands Nobita and Mayonnaise performed their hit singles on the Philippine Arena stage. The audience eagerly awaited the announcement of abundant prizes, especially those who stayed and watched Net 25 at home. Viewers actively participated in Net 25's Selfie with the Agila promo, with prizes in cash, iPads, iPhones, and 3 brand new cars. Event hosts also participated in the selfie with the Agila promo. Wait for the announcement of the lucky winners to be aired on Net25 programs kada umaga. And ano sa palagay nyo? Nadine Aguilar, for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year! And it's the first Monday of the year 2023. And to start the year, here's a quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson, an American philosopher. Write it on your heart that every day is the best day in the year.
This is a good practice to start this 2023. You have to wake up every day and love or look forward to good things happening that day. And if you don't have any reason to be happy, just be happy you're alive.
Exactly, because do not forget that whatever situation you are in, happiness remains your choice. And that's what the pandemic has done to us. The past year, when you look back, has taught us, or the past nearly 3 years, I know that's nearly 3 years,
yeah.
has taught us many things in that we learn to appreciate every single day of our lives.
And there is always something to be grateful for in every day.
Always, always. Always, always.
And that's a wrap for tonight's news. For the first time this year, catch the latest updates on our social media channels. I am CJ Hero.
And I am Nina Richielago Flores. Rewatch and relive the moment of Let's Net Together 2023, the New Year Countdown, on Net25's official Facebook page and YouTube channel. This is Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.